Hi everyone, it's Alex from Risk Academy. In the previous video, I started talking about integrating risk management into procurement. Procurement being just an example, a sample business process, because you can integrate risk management techniques into literally any business process that has a lot of uncertainty associated. So in the previous video, I talked about accreditation, building a risk model for accreditation. Google that video and watch it on YouTube. And do subscribe to the Risk Academy channel for more videos like that. In this second video, I want to talk about the next step in the process. So accreditation only allows you to cipher out really kind of bad apples, bankrupts, compliance issues, somebody who has basically been flagged by government or taxation office and hence is somehow blacklisted in one of the government public sources. That's not particularly helpful. That's why we apply the second filter. We call it pre-qualification. It's basically when you have in your system 3,000 or 4,000 vendors, or it actually doesn't matter how many, 1,000, 500, 100, it doesn't matter, and you want to invite organizations to participate in the tender. You could invite anyone with relevant experience, and that could be hundreds of companies, or you could add an additional filter. Well, what if I want to add somebody who is knowledgeable in a particular field but also has a suitable risk level? So I want to work with somebody who is considered medium or moderate to low risk for a particular contract, because it is high risk venture, high criticality, high significance, and so you want to work with somebody who is respectable. And you also want to motivate your vendors to continuously improve the quality of their services and hence reduce their risk exposure. So you need that metric of riskiness, vendor riskiness, to have those conversations with the vendors. Vendors can fix the errors, reduce risk exposure, improve performance, and you can also report, track, and measure performance. This will come in a later video. This is super important because historically procurement has been motivated and what's the word I'm looking for? Paid bonuses for the reduction in the cost of procurement. Well, that is actually bad risk management, because you could reduce the cost, but you could increase the risk exposure. You have to look at both. And so we'll talk about that later. But even for that, you need the metric of risk, vendor riskiness. And so the next model that we have built, we're actually in the process of building it, so I will share some of the kind of initial observations, and that could change eventually when I do end up building and implementing this model, is we call it a pre-qualification model. And what it does basically, it gives you that level of risk for a particular vendor. And that risk model is based on a few things. First of all, it's based on a credit risk model, just like you would apply credit risk to your sales. You're trying to figure out, well, what's the rating, what's the probability of default for a customer, and hence how much limit can you allocate to a particular customer, how much product you can offload to that particular customer before they have to pay you, depends on their credit worthiness. It's the same thing with vendors. You can actually create a credit risk model for the vendors to figure out how much advance payments can you pay to the vendor. And you would find out that some of the vendors you should probably not pay any advance to because they have a low credit risk score, and some you can pay whatever your contractual obligations with them state, because they have a very high credit worthiness. So that's one component, but then we added additional components on top of that: health and safety performance, environmental performance, relationship with the manufacturers, maintenance, services, financial stability, ethics, and basically any other metric that is important to your organization. All of that should combine together in some sort of measure of risk exposure to a particular vendor, and that will help you drive very, very important decisions in the procurement going forward. Let me know if you kind of went down that path, if you managed to build such a model. We were in the process of building that model, and the most important conclusion that I found is that out of conversations, I don't know, maybe like a dozen conversations with large vendors, large procurement vendors in the world, we found only one who was able to show that they had such a model, and they were actually actively backtesting it. So it wasn't just random aggregation of scores. They're saying, well, if they have an HSE policy, that's an A. If they had an accident, that's a B. If they had a compliance issue, that's a C, and so on. It's not enough to just come up with random labels. You have to backtest your methodology on a very large population, probably more than 1,000 population of vendors, so you can actually see whether, well, does that actually work? Does it produce the results that I wanted to produce? So I'm interested in your thoughts. Please share your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Like if you found this video useful. Don't forget to find the other video on accreditation, and I'll see you in the next one.